one, you live in Brooklyn, Sheila's in Los Angeles, but today you're in the same room. How did your writing process go with East Coast, West Coast?
We definitely Zoom, text, call each other. We just definitely trusted each other enough to go off into our respective corners.
Yeah, we kind of agreed pretty quickly about where the book would be set because we're both originally from Washington, D.C. Her family lives really, really close to my family.
Yeah.
When we were talking about the neighborhood, we were like, where should we set it? And I was like, oh, well, my family's from Northeast. And she was like, wait, my family is too.
Good morning, Ashley and Lexi. Welcome to the Bookaholic podcast.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes. Glad to have you here. I always love having what I call new authors and bringing them to my channel so that my audience doesn't have to always rely on the New York Times bestseller list, because those seem to be the same kind of things over and over again. There's a lot other books out here for us to expose to readers. So I'm really excited to talk to you guys about. So before we get started talking about your book, Louder Than Words, let's introduce both of you to my audience. Ashley, I'll first cue you. I read that you had a cute husband, even cuter dog, and this wonderful and extraordinary baby.
Yeah, so my name's Ashley Woodfolk. I'm the author of about, I think, 10 books now, 10 or 11. And I do a ton of collaborative work. I've done collaborative novels in the past, and this is me and Lexi's collaboration, Louder Than Words. And yeah, that's in my bio. I live in my Brooklyn apartment with my cute husband, my cuter dog, and the cutest baby in the world.
Yes.
Now I have a new cute baby since I wrote that bio. But
wow.
Yeah, that's a little.
Oh, wow. I love little families. I'm the best internet auntie in the world.
I believe it.
And Lexi, you are an actress by trade, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
And tell us a little bit about your background.
So I am originally from Washington, D.C. I now currently reside in LA. I am an actress, a singer, a filmmaker, and I also consider myself a change maker. Now an author, add that onto the list. But yeah, I've been really fortunate to do an array of different projects as just my day job as an actor. But now I'm transitioning over to the book world, which has always been a love of mine. This is just a dream come true.
Wow. You know, I was reading your bio and you appeared in, were you one of the Obama girls in First Wives?
Yes, First Lady, yeah.
Yes, okay. Yeah, I liked that show a lot. I was intrigued. I was even intrigued, I was intrigued with the Michelle Obama storyline, but I was also intrigued by the Betty Ford and the Eleanor Roosevelt line. And I was really disappointed when they said they weren't going to come back, because I was like looking forward to, well, who are they going to do next?
Yeah, no, that was a fun one. I learned a lot on that set.
Yes, very much so. So, Ashley, you mentioned that you've done collaborations in the past. So how did you two get together to do this collab?
Yeah, well, as Lexi said, she's always wanted to write a novel. And she's already an awesome storyteller and all the other work that she does. But the way that it came together was a few years ago, during the pandemic, actually, Lexi was doing some work with Reese's book club, Reese Witherspoon's book club.
Oh, yes.
And a book that was featured or selected by Reese's book club was called You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. And Lexi actually did the In Conversation event with Leah. And shortly after that event, Lexi was having a conversation with Leah's editor, Maya Marlette, and just told her that, she had that dream of always wanting to write her own book.
Yes.
And then Maya was like, well, let's do it. And Lexi already had an idea that she pitched to Maya that Maya loved, and then they reached out to a few different authors to find someone to collaborate with Lexi on the project.
Right.
And I was the one that felt like the best fit for the project, and so that was kind of how it all came together. And then we worked together even more to develop the story more, to develop the characters, to build an outline before we started writing.
Wow. What a wonderful story. Very serendipitous how you guys came together. So, you live in Brooklyn, she lives in Los Angeles, but today you're in the same room. But how did your writing process go with East Coast, West Coast? How did that go?
We would definitely Zoom, text, call each other. But I think that we just definitely trusted each other enough to go off into our respective corners, and do our thing. And if there was anything that we had a question about or felt iffy, then we would just hit each other up. And I think that probably once a month, we would do our comeback, our meetings with our book editor, where we would just kind of see where we were, if there were any new things that had come to mind, and so on. But it was a really smooth process.
Yeah, I think the reason why it was so smooth is because we did a ton of pre-writing, as we like to call it. But developing that outline, that character guide, all of those details ahead of time and in collaboration with each other, that meant that when we did go off and start writing the actual story, we had this sort of document to come back to and refer to that had all the details that we had already talked about. And then having those, those other calls to touch base really made it pretty smooth.
Wow, that's incredible, because I can see that this process would not have gone so smooth for so many different people. Obviously, there's a chemistry somewhere between you two creatively to help that go so smoothly, because there's things such as creating the world that the characters live in, then the individual characters and what they're to relate to, and then there's the story. To me, there's three types of, in general, parts to one. Did one of you work on more of the world as opposed to the characters or anything like that?
I don't know. I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
We kind of agreed pretty quickly about where the book would be set, because we're both originally from Washington, D.C.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. And we talked about neighborhoods. We actually, it's so funny. Her family lives really, really close to my family.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I know. When we were talking about the neighborhoods, we were like, where should we set it? And I was like, oh, well, my family's from Northeast. And she was like, wait, my family is too. So it was a very similar, we have a very similar background in that way. So, so figuring out the setting was really smooth. And then the characters, Lexi had actually already developed all the characters with Maya, and I just sort of added my little flair to them as we wrote. So yeah, that was kind of already there, before we started the actual writing process. And then, if I wrote a scene with a certain character and she and Maya read it and something didn't feel right, or I think at one point Maya was like, what are they wearing?
Yeah.
Exactly. And about what's the style, what is the character style, and so then incorporating that into the book. So yeah, I feel like a lot of it was before, but then some of it just happened very, very naturally.
Right. Wow. It's still incredible to me to digest your working process. Now, tell us a little bit. Now, I have a uncorrected proof, not for sale. So I kind of want the real book, and that's coming out tomorrow, right?
Yeah, it'll be out tomorrow.
So I'll reach back out to you
a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yes, I see it. The difference. So I'll reach back out to your people to get the other copy, because I don't want to chance reading this and then it's going to be totally different when I get the other copy. But tell us a little bit about the book. We've got Jordan Jones, and she's our protagonist. Tell us a little bit about this book.
Yeah, so I feel like the best way to like describe it is it's kind of like a redemption story. When we first meet Jordan Jones, she is a new student at Edgewood High. We know that something quite traumatic happened at her last school, but we're not necessarily sure what it was and what she's running away from. And so when she enters this new school, she sees it as an opportunity to completely start over, to create like a new perception of what she wants people to think she is. And so she is trying to be friends with everyone, just trying to do everything that she maybe necessarily didn't get right at her old school. And so very kind of soon into it, we find out that there is a podcaster at Edgewood High. This is the second year that they've done this. And the podcast is basically, it's called Tomcat Tea. And the whole point of it is to spill the tea of, the students at the school.
Right.
So the podcaster immediately kind of squashes Jordan's plans of having her whole redemption arc. And so as things get farther and farther, you see Jordan and her friends taking a stand, using art through activism to, number one, show that no matter what you've done or who you are, like your mistakes don't define you and those circumstances don't define you. It may be a part of your story, but it's not like the entirety of it. Redemption, there's always space for it, even if you can't see it in the moment. With time, you have to gain people's trust, and you have to show up in certain ways and able to gain that back. And then also just the power of art through activism. And I would also say just social media and the tools that you use and being mindful about what you put out in this world and how it can have a negative effect on others around you.
Yes, definitely. Well, your audience, it's published through Scholastic. So obviously your audience is younger people specifically. And let me try to pull up that page. It's for those 12 and up, ages 12 and up, and grades 7 and up. And why did you all want to write a book that was for that age group as opposed to any other type of book?
Well, for me, I have always wanted to write for kids and teens. That is what I've done for my whole career. And I think that what's so special about this age group is that you're experiencing so many things for the first time. You're gaining independence, but at the same time, you still are a little bit sheltered and you have to follow certain rules. I also just think it's such a time that is full of possibility because you're experiencing so many firsts, right? And you're not really sure what to do or how to come back from things that have gone wrong. So for me, writing for this age group is important just because, I don't know, I just think it's such a special time. And it's such a delicate time. And it's very easy for things that happen, when you're a young adult to color the rest of your life. But also, I think it's important to remember that it doesn't have to. So I think, like, for the story that Lexi and I wanted to tell, this was the right age group to do it for.
Yes. I have not read the book because, like I said, I'm ready. I want my real copy. But when I read this, you said you hope the novel will show readers that no matter who they are or what they've done, there's always time to change and space to heal. And I love that statement because I feel like a lot of folks in this age group, like you said, they are tackling things for the first time. Their bodies are changing. They're being introduced to adult type of things from fellow students and their contemporaries. They're growing up, and growing up is hard. Like they say, adulting is hard. There's some days I could wish I could throw adulting away and be a younger age. But anyway, so I think for this age group to see that they can have forgiveness, they can heal, they have redemption, all of these things, I think this message would help a lot of kids maybe from going over the edge There's a lot of people that are now gone because they didn't get a chance to heal or be forgiven. And they just chose a very extreme action to get away from it all. What do you say to that?
I mean, I think that's something we definitely touch on in the book is like the importance of believing that you will have a second chance.
Yes.
The importance of mental health and being aware that your actions have consequences and that you can't just do whatever you want without there being something that comes from it.
Right.
We definitely touch on that in the novel and how, gossip can be really harmful, um,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
how bullying can be really harmful.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, I also think that a lot of these concepts, while this novel is targeted towards middle school and high school, a lot of these concepts don't go away just because you
They
get older.
don't. They
Um,
do not.
yeah, so even me at my big age, like I'm not immune to gossip. I'm not immune to people saying things about me and wanting to own my story or figure out a way to own my story.
Mhm. Mhm.
So very early on in the novel, Jordan's mother tells her that, no matter what people say, it's your actions that
Right.
are most important. And that's where the title of the novel comes from.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I think that was definitely something that we had in mind when we were writing the book. The importance of mental health, the importance of
Mhm.
telling your story and owning your story.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You have
Yeah.
anything to add?
No, I mean, I think that was great. But we definitely touch on that in the book, and I think,
Yes.
at least for me specifically, I have a lot of peers and friends that struggle with mental health on a daily basis.
Yes.
Myself also struggle with mental health on a daily basis, and
Yeah,
I
me
think
too.
that it's really important that we're just honest and open also about the effects that certain things can have on people.
Yeah.
I think that right now, especially with this new generation, negativity is just so normalized. We've become very desensitized from it, and also
Yeah.
desensitized from gossip. I feel like now more than ever, people almost feel entitled to know your whole life story and
Oh,
to
yeah,
know what's
that's
going
true.
on in your life. Yeah. I
Mhm.
think that to an extent, we just all have to be more mindful about how we treat people and about how much we demand from them, because not everybody is in this same space that you're actively in. And also, it's never okay to assume, because we don't know what's going on behind closed doors with people. You don't know if somebody deals with anxiety or depression or bipolar, whatever it is. You
Right.
don't know. So I think that with everyone that you interact with, it's
Right.
important to be very careful and to treat people with care.
Right.
Feelings matter.
Yes, most definitely. So to come back to give you a description for myself, in 2016, I was a part of uh, a a group, I will say it like that, a setting. In this setting, you would not think that the people involved would be bullies due to their age and due to the status in which we were in this group. And I was the subject of grown woman adult bullying. So I'm Gen X. So you can imagine the ages of these people in this group. And so this was not a group. This was not somewhere that I could say an expletive to these people and say, "Forget you." You can use another F word if you would like to substitute. It was not that kind of place that I could say or do anything like that. So I had to really carry out my duties, so to speak, and be silent because you didn't want to show an uproar, because there were thousands of people that were under our direction that would have been involved, so you didn't want to create drama for the other people. It kept it inside, but it was a horrible situation for me, to say that. And that bullying has no age range. So I just would like to prepare all people that's younger than me for that. It'll depend on how you handle it. There's times when you can say the expletive to the people. But then there might be some other times, like during my time situation, I could not say that. So that's one thing. But the other thing is, when we were going through the pandemic, which was a stressful time for everyone, I want to thank, I guess it would be Gen Z, maybe, because they brought to us self care on social media. There were so many wonderful young Gen Z women that brought to me and Gen X women self care, about our mental health care. We all, look at our skin and do our faces pretty much so, but they were diving deeper, and it was where we got, knew more about narcissist and knew more about all these different phrases that they were throwing out. Microaggressions was a great one that I was introduced to from the Gen Z. So, so all of these things in your book is pretty applicable to just about anyone. And those who've been watching my channel the last few months, I have had two middle grade books that I've been promoting that I thought spoke volumes, that not only could the group that it's aimed at read, but the parents can read them as well. And I think this would be the same for this book. This is not only just for the ages 12 and up, and for grade 7 and up, but their parents could probably do very well in reading this book as well. What do you think about that?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Regardless of what generation you're from, I think that everybody can see themselves in one of these characters in some way, shape, or form. We all know what it's like, or remember what it was like to be a high schooler, a freshman, especially entering a new school and just everything that came with that. So I feel like anyone could read this book and relate.
Right. And it definitely gives a chance for parents and their children to connect, a connecting point, and to pointing out things and sharing stories and pointing out lessons for growth, as opposed to kind of like standing over your child and saying, well, you better do this, you better do that.
Yeah.
More like, let's have a conversation, So I think that your book will probably give a lot of people that opportunity. So what do you have coming up next, Ashley?
I'm working on a few other novels, and hopefully more to come with this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you're a writing machine. Do you have any social media handles or websites that you can mention?
I'm at Ash Writes.
I'm at Lexi Underwood on everything.
Yes, yes. And what do you have coming up, Lexi?
In terms of the TV and film world, that's what I'm back to. I have a film coming out next year called I Wish You All the Best. That'll be in theaters.
Yay! Wow. Well, you women are on the move, and I appreciate you. You're fantastic. I love hearing these great stories of women on the move, and I'm just super proud of you. And just thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And for those who are listening, I will have their contact information in the podcast show notes and in my YouTube subscription box below the video. Lexi and Ashley, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.